My name is Tyler Whitley. I'm the Assistant Athletic Director and an admissions counselor here at the Taft School in Watertown, Connecticut. My background, I'm originally from Torrington, Connecticut, which is about half an hour away from our campus at Taft. I was a public school kid growing up. My dad was a physical education teacher, never knew that boarding schools even existed until I kind of came across Taft's campus. I was on a walk for cystic fibrosis and looked at the school and was just shocked and amazed at what a beautiful place it was, and I didn't even comprehend that it was actually school. So I started to do some research on the school and really realized what an amazing opportunity it would be to go to a place that is unbelievably academically rigorous, offers amazing networking opportunities, and get a chance to play sports at a really high level. So I was lucky enough. I had no idea what I was doing. I applied to two schools, Hotchkiss and Taft, who are rivals, and lucky enough to be admitted. I came here at Taft for all 4 years. Had amazing experience here, changed my life forever, opened up opportunities that I never would have had if I had stayed at my public high school. I was a three-sport athlete at Taft: football, basketball, and track. My senior year, I was captain of all three. And then ultimately decided to play football in college at Wesleyan University in the NESCAC Division III level. Had a great career there, and I was kind of at this crossroads between do I want to take my international relations and government degree and do that, or do I want to try this coaching thing? And my father was a high school football coach, had high school football coach growing up, so it's kind of in my blood. Started coaching at the Salisbury School, which is an all-boys prep school in Connecticut. Had a really good experience there. I was caught by the coaching bug, and I was like, yep, this is what I want to do. Decided to switch and go into college coaching. So I coached at Sacred Heart University, which is an FCS Division I school in Connecticut. Loved that. Loved the high level football X's and O's. I was also getting my master's, my MBA as a graduate assistant. That life is not easy and it's a lot of hours. And I was planning to get married to my wife, who is also a Taft alum. And we could not make that work financially. So switched careers for about 6 months and just, didn't really want to. And then got very lucky that the head coaching job at Taft became open. So I got the job here at 26 years old as a head coach and admissions counselor here, and I've been here ever since. So this will be year 14 for me coming up, and Taft is a really special place for me, and I don't plan on going anywhere until my two daughters find their way through Taft and come here. So that's my big story. Hopefully gives you a sense of kind of where I came from and how I've gotten to be where I am here at Taft. Yeah, good question. So first of all, from the mission side of things, um, we are looking for the best academic students, but not only the best academic students. We're looking for kids that are going to bring amazing things to campus, whether that is being an outstanding athlete or being an amazing musician or artist, or just being so involved with community service and volunteering. We're looking for quote unquote hooks for kids where they can come into campus and make an impact. We can fill our school with amazing students, but if they weren't bringing other things to campus, we will not be able to build the community and the environment that we're striving for. And in a boarding environment, I think it's a very different than any other type of school because you're around each other constantly. You grow up together, you go to class together, you play sports together, you eat dinner together. So the bonds that you make in a boarding environment are really special. And the admissions office, we're looking for a number of different things. We're looking for your ability to engage with others, your ability to work really hard in the classroom, your ability to stretch your boundaries and try new things. And those are things that we're always looking for. But the athletic piece to that is also very important. And Over the past 14 years that I've worked at in boarding school, the athletic side of things has just exploded. And boarding schools have become a destination spot for high level athletes and a vehicle to get athletes to play at the highest levels in the Division I levels. So that's really changed in the landscape since, I went to school in 2000 to 2004. So we are looking for impact athletes. We're looking for kids that are going to come to our schools, improve our teams, go on to great things in college, and just provide an environment for our kids to succeed. So in the admissions process, every coach, and I'd say it's probably different at every school, but I can explain a little bit about how it works here at Taft in particular. So every head varsity coach here at Taft is responsible for recruiting and bringing in talented candidates to the admissions office, and getting them in front of our admissions office to make decisions. Our coaches don't get kids admitted, but they do their best at finding kids that can be academic fits to the school who can also impact in a number of different areas. What we do in our office is that the office has a number of admissions officers that act as liaisons for the office, and each coach will have a liaison that they can use to help craft their list of players, ask questions about kids' applications, and that's kind of like their point person in helping bring the right kids to the admissions process. Um, we as coaches, the way it works at Taft is we are allotted a number of spots for students that we can support in the admissions process. That doesn't mean those kids are going to be admitted, but it means each sport will have a certain number of kids that they can bring forward to admissions, say, hey, these are the kids that I think are going to be the most impactful for our program, and they're really good fits for the school. And what that does is it allows each program to bring forward a number of kids that get seen in the pool of other impact athletes. So it can really help you your admissions process and giving you a little bit of a leg up, and that someone is really advocating for you and wants to see you at their school and impact their program. So yes, athletics can really impact a student's ability to find their way through the admissions process. First and foremost, when I'm recruiting a student, the first thing I'm going to ask is, how are you doing in the classroom? Can I see your transcript? Have you taken a standardized test? Before we even get to the athletic ability, I have to make sure that one, you can handle the workload here at Taft and succeed. Because the worst thing that we can do is bring in a kid to this environment and they struggle. And it's not a good fit for the kid, and it's not a good fit for the school. And there are a range of schools out there of academic prestige and rigor where I truly believe that there can be a fit for pretty much anyone that is looking to go to boarding school, but you want to find the right fit. So first and foremost, you have to be a great academic student and be able to handle the academics here, and love learning and want to be a part of that learning experience. And when there's 11 kids in class with you, and you have to voice your own opinion, you have to be able to voice your own opinion and have done the work beforehand to do so. So that's number one. Academically, have to make sure that's the right fit. The next thing that I'm going to look for is character. We want great kids that are going to be nice on campus, that are going to be involved in the community. Taft's motto is not to be served, but to serve. So we want kids that have that service mindset. That's really important to us. So academics one, character two, three, can you play? I'm going to want to watch your film. I'm going to see how you play. I'm going to say, okay, this is a kid that can impact our team. And that's great. So that, yes, I'd say that kids who are athletically very talented, the school and can, and if they're willing to, can dip, I'd say, or can be willing to deal and admit a student that is a little bit less than our normal average. But I think there's definitely a floor to that. And we're not going to admit a student, and we're not going to take the wrong kid if their academics aren't in line and they can't succeed here. So there are hundreds of kids every year that I start to recruit, And when I say, can I see your transcript and can I see your test scores, we still have to stop the conversation because after I see the transcript, I have to say, unfortunately, Taft is not a great academic fit for you. Here are some other schools that you might want to consider. So depending on the school, there's going to be a baseline of where you could be, LeBron James. But if you can't do the academic, work at the school will not be able to accept you, and you won't be able to be to succeed. And you won't be happy there either. Yeah. So I would say when we go through the admissions process and we're looking at an application, the first thing that we're going to look at is we're going to look at how you're doing in the classroom. So, how are your grades? What are you doing in the classroom? Are you showing up to class? Are you late? Are you? Those are the things that, number one, making sure that the academics are in line. Next, we're going to look at your recommendations. We're going to look at your math teacher, English teacher, guidance counselor recommendation, and we usually use an additional recommendation as well. In those recs, we want to see that you're an active participant in class, that you enjoy learning, that you get your things in on time, that you work hard. And those are the things that are going to give us a sense of, yep, okay, they can do it here in the classroom. We'll look at your essays, and we look at your short answers and essays. We want to see a bit of your personality. So that's where you can get a little bit more creative and talk a little bit about the things that you can bring to campus that might be a little bit different from our other applicants. And then at Taft, we interview all our prospective students. And that for us is super important because we're a school of 600 kids that's very compact. Our passing time's 5 minutes between classes. So you see the same kids every day. You say hello to the teachers every day. It's a place where you cannot hide. So personality has to match. And we want to make sure that we're finding kids that really enjoy connecting with others, that are not going to be just hanging out in the room. We want kids that are going to be involved in different areas of campus. Taft is a school that does require a standardized test. Some schools do not. We were test optional for a time. Now we're back to requiring a test. What we use that is a tool. And we look at that and say, hey, can this kid succeed in our classrooms? Are they capable of reaching the rigor that we need? It is not the be all end all for us. There's no like number. If we don't hit this, then we're not going to admit you. But we want to see that kids, and we also understand that some kids have studied for 2 years. Some kids walk in and take the test for the first time. And so there's a range in which that we're looking for. But if there's the standardized test is so far out of that range, then it means, ooh, they're really going to struggle here. That's when it becomes, we use that standardized test to be like, maybe it's just not the right fit for them. Sure. Yeah, I think for me, I think the interview is really telling because that's when you're engaging one-on-one with someone and you're carrying a conversation. And you don't necessarily have to be the biggest extrovert in that interview because sometimes you could be overly extroverted. But I think in that interview is going to tell us a lot about who you are and your personality and your ability to deal with people and communicate with people. The essays are important too because that allows you to delve a little bit deeper into your interests and to discuss a little bit with some preparation. We want to look at both because we want to be able to see how you can interact at the spot on the moment, but also we need to be able to see how you write and how you are when given the time to prepare that application. What does that look like when you're able to produce that writing? So for me, I like the interview a little bit better. And plus, when you're looking at the essays, you don't really know if the kid has written it or not because it's not in the moment. But I think both are important because it really gives a sense for the whole picture of the kid. So when we're in the interview, there's a few things that we are looking for. We have specific questions that are going to get to some of the things that we want, that we think that makes a really successful Taft student. And one of those things is students' ability to work hard in response to setbacks. and their resilience. I think that's one thing that we're trying to find is task's hard and you're going to fail. So how are you resilient? Are you able to come back from those setbacks is an important piece to us. We look at for kids that are willing to try new things and are curious. So that's something that we want to see as the kids that are like, I want to try that club or I want to get involved with that thing. And you might not be the best at that sport, but you're willing to try. I think that's an important piece for us that we look for. So those are just two things off the top of my head that I think we want to ensure that bringing in the kids to Taft that they're going to succeed in this environment. Are they curious? Are they resilient? Are they able to get along with kids from different cultures and experiences? Because Taft has kids from 52 different countries and 34 different states. So we want to see kids that are willing to engage with people from different cultures and are willing to learn from each other. Because that's one of the reasons why you go to boarding schools. That you have all these kids from different experiences, and that's some of the best learning experiences, not only in the classroom, but just hanging out in the dorm with someone from a different place. Ooh, that's a really tough question. So Um, Taft in particular, we are all about education of the whole person. So at Taft, um, students will do something in the afternoon program for each season, the fall, the winter, and the spring. Students will also take a semester of art class for every year that they're at Taft. Taft really values service, and that's probably should have touched on that last question. Um, our motto, not to be served, but to serve. So those are things that we want to see kids being well-rounded in that sense and that they're going to be involved in different areas. But I would also say there is a place for that kid who is really, really talented in that one thing. But they have to be willing to engage in the other areas of campus. So we could have, you could be an unbelievable violinist and be one of the best violinists in the country. Yeah, that's going to make you really marketable and we want to get you to Taft. But you still have to try something in the afternoon and you have to be engaged in other areas. So I think both are ways and entries to get into the school. But I think being able to be involved in other areas, at least for our school, is an important piece of the process. One is you'll see that massive price tag first off and just say, there's no way I can go to that school. It's too expensive. And they are very, very expensive. But many schools, including the one that I'm at, Taft, has an unbelievable financial aid process and financial aid budget. So our goal is to get the best candidates to Taft, regardless if they can pay or not. So we are going to provide financial aid and meet a family's need to get that kid to Taft. So when you see that initial price tag, don't say that it's not going to be a possibility for me because we want to get the best kids to this school and we're going to try to make it work for families. So that would be like the first misconception is that these places are just pie in the sky, never going to be able to go to that place because it's just we don't have the financial resources to do that. And then, I think the other thing might be is that these are schools that are 135 years old, predominantly white institutions, and we're places that have, a lot of tradition and history. And there are families here that obviously have a lot of financial resources. But I think it's a really cool place where you see the mix of kids from so many different backgrounds and geographic places and socioeconomic environment. So it's not just a school of like the really, really rich kids only go here. I think there's a mix of kids and that's one of the really cool things is you can create this environment intentionally where kids get to learn from each other. Sure. So I think one of the beauties and the best things about boarding school is that the teachers are so accessible. Almost all of our faculty live here on campus, whether it's in the dorms or it's in houses on the edges of campus, and they are devoted to our kids, and they want to see our kids succeed. So extra help is very different in a boarding environment than it might be in a public school. So the teachers are the individualized instruction, the average class size of 11. The teachers are really going to know our kids, and they're going to know if they're struggling, and they're going to be willing to give extra help at any time. So whether it's breakfast or lunch or at the end of the school day, or hey, before study hall, going up to your teacher and say, hey, can you help me with my thesis? That happens constantly at Taft. Is there's extra help opportunities, and the accessibility of teachers is just different. Whether you're at a public school or even a day school, a private day school, it's not the same. Um, not the same connection with the teachers and not the same accessibility. Besides the classroom teacher, which pretty much everyone is getting help from the classroom teacher, we also have we could call the Moorhead Academic Center, which is staffed with tutors. So if kids need a little bit extra help with planning or organizational skills or test taking strategies, and then we do have some peer tutoring as well. So there's a number of different tiers that kids can use for those extra help opportunities and that extra support. There's a couple things that I would say, and one would be, the work and the effort that you need to put into that sport in order to get to the level that you're at. The standards that everyone's working. If you want to go play sports in college, everyone works hard. It's like how can you take yourself to that beyond that level? What are you willing to sacrifice in order to get yourself to that highest level? Are you willing to not go hang out with your friends at the end of the school day? Instead, you're going to go get that extra workout in. What are the levels of which you're willing to sacrifice to get yourself to where you want to be? And then when you're at a place like this, I would say, which might sound counterintuitive, but this is if you get to a boarding school environment, it's an amazing place to try new things and to step out of your comfort zone. So you can't get so locked in and myopic. It's like, I'm only going to be a basketball player. Like, you're not going to only be a basketball player. Basketball is going to only last for so long, right? So take the opportunity to go get involved in new things, to try something new, join a club, play that second sport. Because once you get to college, like, that's your life. If you're going to play Division I football, you're a Division I football player. So use that time in boarding school to stretch your boundaries, while still working really hard and growing in your sport. Use that time that you have to try something new. Absolutely. And that's why I'm sitting here right now is the ability to come back to Taft and to impact another generation of Taft students and to give back. And that, I guess, that service mindset kind of gets in there when you go to school here, is to come back and give back to the school. I would have done it 100 times out of 100. And it's hard. And there are times where it's going to be like, man, I really wish I was able just to relax a little bit, or the assignments just keep coming and it's challenging, and you have a lot of things, and you are structured and you are fast-paced environments at these boarding schools. But the work and that facing adversity is what makes you grow as a student, as an athlete, as a person. So these environments are built to stretch you and create better students, better athletes, better people. So I would have done it if given the opportunity. I would have done the same thing. And I think nowadays, so this, I just had my 21st, I just had my 20th and my 21st reunion. Nowadays, these places are even greater than they were, back when I was in school. And not only will you get an amazing education, get to play high level sports and hopefully placed at a really high level in college. And there's that kind of transactional piece of come to a great boarding school, go to a great college, but you'll grow as a person. And then I think one that people don't always think about is is the networking that you make at a school like this. The people that you meet that are going to help you in the future. That you're going to be connections that you're going to have for your life. Because my best friends to this very day are my best friends from Taft. And if you were to ask me, oh, what made you, or like what would you identify as your school? It wouldn't be my college. It would be my high school, it'd be my boarding school. I came from Taft, not I came from Wesley. My five best friends to this day, we're gonna go next month with our families, and we're gonna get together, are from Taft. So like that will last your whole life. Yeah, that's a great question. And there are a number of kind of internal challenges, and we'll probably expand from there. But um, the first thing is that Taft, like I talked about, is a really well-rounded place. We want to be really good in everything. So what that means is Taft is never going to pour all of the resources into the football program. They want to be really good at boys soccer and hockey and girls hockey and field hockey. And we want to be really good at everything. And we only have so many beds. There are only so many kids that go to school here. We also want to have great musical performances, and we want to have great dance group. And so there are so many cuts to that pie of kids that can actually come here and impact that our program. So the hardest thing is building a roster of kids that are really competitive and can compete with the top schools in the league, where they might have a little bit more leeway in terms of academically what they can get a kid admitted, or they just have more kids in the school, and more kids that play on the that football team. So we're a little bit limited in the amount of kids that can come and impact our program. But I see that as a really great challenge, and finding the best kids for our team in our school who can impact Taft and make our program the best it could be. We do recruit nationally and internationally. I have my starting quarterback is from Sweden. We have our starting nose guard who just committed to Temple is from Nigeria. We have kids from all over the world that are coming into the school. So it doesn't, I will recruit a kid from anywhere in the United States. And it's just a little bit of like building that roster with how many financial aid spots are really available in the school, how many spots are available to the football team compared to all the rest of the teams. But it's a cool challenge to be a part of, to find the right kids that can also help you compete at the highest level of website football. Sure. So it'd probably be helpful just to talk about basic timeline and how that works. So if kids are starting the process of looking at private schools right now, that's what you should be doing right now, is doing your research and figuring out what schools are the best fits for you, what you're looking for in your school, what's really important to you in the school that you want to go to next year. And then what really happens is we start interviewing students in like mid-September. So you have to get on campus and go to some of the schools that you're interested in, because each school has a different vibe, has a different feeling, and you could go to one school and be like, nope, that is not for me. And the next one you can go to is like, that's the perfect fit for what I want and feel like on campus. So set up those interviews and tours in the fall. For fall sport athletes, that can be really hard. And that's okay, because we still interview all the way up until February 1st. So December is where we see a lot of our fall sport athletes coming in to visit us. We are going to go on break, so then we'll be back in January. Application deadline is January 15th. So all of that December break is a great time to knock out that application and get that done. And then you can tweak it and things like that before the 15th. We review those applications through January, February, and then the beginning of March. And then on March 10th is when our decisions go out. And that's pretty standard among the New England boarding schools. March 10th is when you're going to hear from us. And then we hear back from our students by April 10th. I would say also is like how competitive it is. It's super competitive. We have over 1,800 applications for 185 spots. So it's really competitive. And each school is a little bit different in their competitiveness, and some schools even have more applications than that. So try to find the schools that are right for you, and give yourself a little bit of range. And when you're choosing schools, is to look at, maybe you want to look to apply to 4 or 5 schools, and take, just like a college would be, here's some reaches, here's some schools that are right in my wheelhouse, and here's some schools that I feel like I'm pretty good to get in there. But I would also say it's gotten so competitive that, if you know where you want to go to school, tell that school, because it's really helpful for us in admissions that, hey, Taft's my number one choice. We go, let's go. We know we have this kid that wants to be here. So that's really helpful, and it's a tool for you to use. If you know which your number one, tell that school, because that school will help you in the admissions process. But you got to know. If you not know, just let it go and just apply to all 5 of them. But I think that would be a couple of my suggestions in the admissions process. Really get to know the school, do your research online, look at the social media, talk to, if you have a resource to someone that's at the school, talk to those kids, because things could look really nice online, but the kids that are really living it on the day to day, they're going to tell you what it's really like at that school. So talk to the kids, and then make connections with people, whether it's a coach, get to know that coach, and because that coach could advocate for you in the admissions process, and you get to know what the school's really like through that coach. And if you can make multiple connections, all the better.